Little cinnamon dolce.
Attaboy. What's
Cass.
happening? Yeah.
Perry, we're live. I figured since, we're good? I figured since we really don't have an audience anymore, we go back to old school banter and,
Okay.
make fun of the industry and give them a sneak peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, what's that?
No, I'm getting
your other Oh, you're gonna flip the camera?
I wish I could, but now we're doing like high def 1080p cameras. I can't just flip the camera very easily anymore.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Anyway, how we doing, man? How we doing?
Good. We've got
hey, you're like some of the people in the industry. Pretend to have an itch just to show off the tricep. That's how other people, they pretend to have information just to show off the houses and cars.
That tricep is gone. It is not there right now.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, what do you want to talk about?
I love our martial arts industry.
Yeah, man. No, we're excited. We're we start the first of our mass in shows for our graduation for our 2-week courses this Saturday, and we go this Saturday, next Saturday, the following Saturday. Just got word that we booked another one, and a 5th one is on its way. So that's great news for enrollments and recruitment this time of year. So we're excited. We're excited to be able to be in a position to, have the relationship with the schools and be able to get in and generate some new students, man. It's always, everyone wants new students, needs new students. But it'll be good for us. It'll be a nice burst of new students, which would be great.
Hey, the danger. So listen, I'm transparent. I was just looking at some remits. Now, of course, we've had paid in fulls and stuff, but we signed up 155 people in September. No, in August. Perry, I can't comment on here either. Hold on one second. Like, there's no comment box. Usually I can. If anyone's watching, can you just comment anything you want?
That way we know if it's working.
Right. Put a comment, guys. Just
there we go.
Where are you from, I guess?
Myers, how you doing?
Mr. Myers, okay, you're there. Oh, there it is. Now it's popping up. Here it is.
Beautiful.
Right, thank you, guys. All right, anyway. So listen, Tass, this is important. This is for everybody. And I say it every year. And I've said it to all the elite clients. I've said it to all the CMA's affiliates. And I've said it to our team. We signed up like 155 people in August. And I said 3 times a year where we lose the most people. Going into summer, coming out of summer, over the holidays. But it gets disguised during the back to school time. The 90% again, by the way. It gets disguised during the back to school season because you enroll so many people. So we enrolled 155 people. And I tell everyone, you got to retain, because you'll see that the needle doesn't move too much, right?
Right.
So what do we do, or what did we do as a team? What they did was, a couple years ago, is they would put a lot of focus on retaining all of these new students, new student orientation, one-on-one appointments, right? Cater to these new students, 2, 4, 6 calls, whatever you want to do. Well, we did that. But what you don't see is the trickle of the intermediates or advanced that go through this transition and drop off. So with 155 new students, well, I guess, I mean, it's still significant, but the first, we get these 2 remits, and I always look at the first remit, and then I'll look at the second remit at the end of the month. So the first one's on the 12th, then there's a remit on the 26th, but I get the report from Miss Dre, our bookkeeper, and we've jumped $4,000 for the first half of the month. $4,000. Now, 155 people, as I told you, a lot of them, not a lot of them, but there's a percentage of them that paid in full, right? So even if 20% of them paid in full, that's 124 times 169. In theory, billing should have jumped 21,000.
Right.
Well, in the first half, it jumped
4.
Well, 4. And by the way, we're in October. This happened in August. September, we didn't see this massive jump because some of them weren't going to hit billing until towards the end of September. My point is we'll see what the second remit is, but I promise you it's not going to jump 16,000.
Right.
So when you're talking about all your 2-week courses, all your students, you get on your team now to say, look, we got to cater to, you always have to cater, but you really want to pay attention to your intermediates and your advanced and your existing beginners, because when you get an influx of 50, 60 white belts, that disrupts all the people who were not used to having these massive beginner classes.
Well, and I think a lot of people do, they do retention events, right? And the retention event is typically talk to the students who are coming to classes. The announcements are made, whatever. And certainly that works. But we forget this chunk of students who haven't been to classes for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks or longer. And those are really the people that we need to be reaching out to get into those retention events, to get them back and get them re-engaged, back in the school. Yeah, I mean, it's a constant battle, and we've said this, and I know a lot of people in the industry know, well, most everybody knows they should track their numbers, but the reality is there's not a lot of people that take the time to track their numbers. And then if you don't know your attrition, as an example, well, that's like step one. But then within the attrition, knowing where you're losing that X percent of people. Are you losing them at white belt, yellow belt, orange belt? Because having a 5% attrition, as an example, with a school of 200 students, say, okay, I'm losing 5%. I'm a 200 student base. I'm losing 10 a month. But over the course of the year, you lost 120 students. Now, the question is where are you losing them? Because if you find out, I'm just giving arbitrary numbers, but 70 of them happen to be a yellow belt, we've got some problems there, right? Whether it's taboo, whether we're not upgrading soon enough, whether we're not, giving them a good onboarding process, painting the picture, getting them to their next test, whatever it may be, you may find out, no, we're fine at white, yellow, orange belt. We lose the majority of our people at, black belt, as an example, or just before black. But knowing that number and allowing you to dive in can really help you create some retentions and be proactive after you've been reactive and find out where you're losing everybody. Hey, that's a big spot where we're losing people. Let's go. What can we do to fix that area? And if that could resolve 60, 70% of your attrition, right? That can be a huge win. Right? So,
by the way, Mr. Blackman said our intermediate level has the largest dropout rate. That's not uncommon. That's common for a lot of people. Why? Because when a student first joins, everything's new, it's exciting, they're progressing. Then they hit intermediate, and in intermediate, it's a lot of review and some new. Review and new, it's not as exciting. I kind of understand this now, but I'm still a far way from black belt. Once you get through intermediate, you get closer to advanced. Most people, not all, you can retain your advanced belts a little bit better because black belt's within reach at this point. So intermediate's an issue. So how do we overcome that? Well, you got to look at your curriculum. You got to look at how the classes are structured. You got to look at where the reward system is for intermediates. And I mean, we're constantly going to evolve and always try to get better. So yeah, paint a better picture for higher level training. By the way, the other thing that's going to help at intermediate is upgrade programs.
I was going to say, I'd be curious to know, intermediate is the rank, but what program are all those intermediate people on, right? And so we can maybe decipher that and take it even a step further. But it's probably the traditional forms that's really like sending people away once they get to intermediate.
And there's our segue.
Those darn
Oh,
traditional
man. Pat,
forums.
this conversation's kind of boring. Let's talk about the industry. I have questions for you guys. Honestly, I have questions. This isn't an knock. This is about Maya. This is about everybody. Well, let me ask all 13 of you on here. Let me ask you guys, how do you know who is good in the martial arts industry to help you maximize your success in your martial arts school? How do you know who's good and who's not good? Even when you're with Maya or any of the other consulting groups, because it tends to be that a lot of times when you're in a specific group, you want to say they're the best, but how do you know? So how do you guys know who to trust? But I just have a feeling that everyone on here is probably with Maya. But I mean, you see a lot of people out there, you see ads. How do you make that decision on who can help you the most?
That's a good question. And it's kind of an open-ended question. Right?
Oh, and real quick, Tess, before you even start answering this, here's a better question for everybody. How do you know they're telling you the truth about their success? How do you know that they are successful in the business that they're trying to consult you on? For example, if you're getting information on how to run a martial arts school, how do you know that they're very successful at running their martial arts school? Is that even important? But that's the question.
Because then people are going to bring up the women's gymnastics coach who never did gymnastics, but he's a great coach. That could be a possibility.
But by the way, I know he's a good coach because he's trained 18 Olympians.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. And you that was the first question you asked was pretty open-ended, right? Like, who's going to help you in the success of your business? Well, I mean, and what then it's how do you define success, right? Is it more students? Is it the quality of the student? Is it financial? You know, what is it, right?
What Mr. Blackman just had one of your operations directors visit our school for an internal evaluation. Who else besides you develop a staff that can help us? I'm sure that Mr. Blackman, the truth is I would like to think that there are others out there that develop great staff. But I think what that solidifies is we are one of the groups out there that you obviously see some credibility, but I'm talking about our industry who gets inundated where people don't pick up the phone and call everybody. They don't do their diligence. They don't do their homework. And then you see people that talk about, they'll post their billing check or they'll post their financial statement. And I'm just thinking, like, for me, unless you're posting your financial statement year to date, your profit, your gross, your net, 1 month of posting a financial statement, I wonder why isn't it posted every month? Why that month? You know, or how are we making our revenue? Are we making it off of our martial arts schools? You know, people ask me, and I'll just be transparent with everybody. There was a gentleman, I went to breakfast at this place last weekend. And there was an older gentleman, 75, full of life, but I'm having breakfast with a buddy of mine, and he comes over to the table, just walks up to our table and says, "All right, I have a joke for you guys." And he's just starts telling us a joke. And then he goes back and sits down, and then I'm just having breakfast with a friend of mine, and 20 minutes later, he comes back over to the table and he goes, "All right, I have one more for you." And he starts telling us a joke. But then he goes, "Where are you all from?" And I said, "Oh, we're from the east side of Orlando, you know, on the east side." And he goes, "Welcome to the wealthy side." That's what he said. And I just said, well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. That was that. Well, then he came up as we were getting ready to leave and he said to me, he's like, well, what do you do for a living? Now, already I was like, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah. Don't give the Silverman comment, but I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm like, welcome to the wealthy side. I was thinking about my neighborhood and, I must be in the wrong part of town. But I just said, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. But then he comes back and he goes, what do you do for a living? And he's a really nice guy. But I said, I have a chain of martial arts schools and commercial real estate development. He goes, do either of those make you any money? And I said this, and this is for the martial arts school owners. I said, well, yeah, one makes me rich, the other makes me wealthy. That was my response. So my point is I'm not going to tell people on here, and you know this, right? That I'm going to tell you how to run your martial arts business, whether you're an owner or a staff member. I'm going to give you a pathway on how you can become wealthy just with your martial arts school. But I will tell you how you can become rich in the eyes of society, whatever rich is, making a good enough wage to become rich. However, that's why we have a wealth program, right? Because you can't just keep chasing the next level of income. You in your martial arts schools, we work for our money, but on the wealth side, you got to get your money to work for you. And there's two different things there. So if people see my success, I'm quick to tell them the dynamics and the difference and how without the martial arts industry, without the martial arts, I would not have anything else. It's the martial arts business and industry that has opened the doors to do other things to achieve a level of success, whatever that is, right? But my point is I think, how do you know about consultants or other people in the industry that will tell you how to run your martial arts school when they don't make their money off of a martial arts school? And again, I said, is that important or not? I mean, I don't know if that's even important to you, but even if it is important to you, how do you know unless you go visit their schools? How do you know how well they really do? And the reason I'm bringing this up, I'll be honest with you, I got a text message this morning. I cannot even drop any clues on this because I don't even want to do it. But it was about an event, okay, where well over 100 school owners come to our event and this, that, and the other. Well, at this event back then, which is dialoguing now, I'm trying to be vague here. There were 10 schools at the event, 10. And in our industry, like it or not, in our industry, people talk a big game. They just do. They talk a big game. They fluff numbers, right? And it's just what people do in the industry. Maybe it's because they want credibility. Maybe it's because I don't know what it is, but probably credibility, right? But my point is when we have people out there that are looking for help, how do you know what's real and what's not? I mean, what's your thoughts on that, Tash? Because you've been with a lot of consulting groups, a lot of companies, and I'm not saying any of them are bad. I'm just saying whatever you think is important to you, how do you verify that?
Well, I think, in my case, right, with being with other companies in the past, maybe some of them worked for some people, right, but they didn't work for me. And maybe it was because I didn't work and work the system. But I think, the fair statement there is sometimes different people gel better with different people, right? So same thing with coaching, right? With coaches in sports and whatever. There are some coaches that really gel well, and they've got a group of players that they gel well with, and then they move to another one. It's just a different culture and different feel. And some superstar players may not, fit into that culture. So for me, it was just not about fitting in and necessarily buying in, and also not feeling like I was getting the help that I needed on my end. Not that they didn't have good information potentially, but the time was limited, the exposure was limited. So it's like, hey, if I want to become wealthy, right? As an example, and if I'm spending my time around poor people all the time, and I only get to spend 15 minutes with a wealthy person once a month, I better make sure that I suck every bit of information that I can out of that 15 minutes. But if I surrounded myself with wealthy people, well, that's going to rub off on me on a daily basis, and my chances to get to that level are going to be much higher. So for me, it was just surrounding myself with the people and being able to have access to the information when it was needed. But talking about that, and so my son was over last night, and we got talking, and he's a senior in high school, and he knows he should go to college, but he's 17, and he said, he made a comment. He's like, I just wish I was freaking 18 already, because he has all these plans of he wants to do his influencer stuff, he wants to do drop shipping, he's got 5 different things that he wants to do, but he doesn't want to open accounts under his mom or under me, because he wants to have his own accounts, and because you have to be 18 in a lot of these cases to do that. And so he's talking maybe about taking a gap year and seeing how far he can run with this, and so on and so forth. And he made a comment to me today. He's like, I would, give everything in my savings if somebody could sit down with me and show me exactly what they did to become successful doing, in this particular case, it was an Amazon affiliate deal, right? Or Amazon drop shipping, but he had some fancy name for it. I don't know what it was. I said, well, hold on. I said, because that's a pretty big statement. I said, would you be willing to do that for someone just to show it to you? Or would you be willing to do that for someone to sit down with you and help you to execute that and actually get it done? Because there's a difference. Somebody can show you, they can show you all the bells and whistles, do everything, or they can help you execute. I would say I wouldn't want to give my money to someone to show me, but I want to give it to them to help me execute and help me become as successful as possible. So, and then he made a comment about some kid. He's like, it's just interesting. He's got his eye on a lot of different things, and he's kind of gone down a couple different paths that he's doing well with. But his most recent that he's been watching and he hasn't done anything with it, but he's watching some of these kids that are doing day trading. And he's like, here's a TikTok, and he shows me this guy's TikTok, and the guy made $16,000 inside of 3 minutes. And I said, and he's like, that's pretty impressive. I said, does he show you his losses? Was it a one-time thing? Does he show you that he lost 30,000 in the week prior? I mean, you're getting, like you said, you're getting a snapshot in time. And most all of us, I'm not a big social media person as far as posting, but most all of us, when we post on social media, don't like to necessarily show our dark side. We may complain on social media about things, but we don't like to show the skeletons in our closet. We want to show our best selves when we're online. So whether that's pictures of our vehicles or our homes or our vacations or this, we have this social media life and image, and then there's reality. And I think, and I learned this in the martial arts a long time ago. The more, because I had instructors this way, the instructor was very disciplined and just a completely different person in the martial arts school than he was outside the martial arts school. And it just wasn't congruent. That becomes a hard life to try and lead. I think the more you can be that person, regardless of whether you're on social media, you're in front of this person or that person. I mean, for me, that's really what it comes down to. But to answer your question it is very difficult to know. People by nature tend to embellish. They tend to exaggerate. There tends to be puffery. And we've got to kind of read through all that. And sometimes I don't even know if they really mean it or if they even realize they're doing it, because it's become such a habit for them, and they just start spouting things before they actually are thinking about things, and just start spouting information, or they really don't know, but they're just saying what they think it might be. And I've dealt with this with martial arts school owners, right? And so, you ask a certain question and they give you an answer. And after doing this for years, I ask the same question a different way and I get a different answer. So how is that possible, right? And it's because we're either embellishing if we get asked one way and we're not, I didn't see that sneak attack coming up on the other question. But it's very hard to know. And all you can do, and sometimes you have to do your due diligence. if there's, testimonials of other people that have had success, what was the biggest thing that made them successful, or they feel that consulting company in this example helped them to do? Is that something you're already doing? Would you see growth if you were to actually, implement it? And then sometimes you have to take a leap of faith, but the leap of faith isn't just, okay, I signed up, so I should be more successful, because following that, there comes a lot of work. And I think a lot of people want to get the results sometimes without the work. But it is hard to know. I mean, it's really hard to know. Why is a $50,000 a month a good month in the martial arts school? I mean, why does it have to be? And I think Mr. Blackman put on here, he was talking to a mayor or somebody in town or a candidate, and they said something about martial arts. Well, you can make a living at that? Well, listen, we as an industry, this is why I think Metz and I do what we do, is because we're trying to elevate the industry. Metz said the same thing. The guy says, well, can you make any money at that? Most people don't realize that martial arts is a great paying career. And not only as an owner, but if you're doing it the right way, it's an unbelievable career for the team and for the staff that you have. And we need to do a better job of letting everybody else know. Because if someone says, well, I'm a lawyer, or you're a lawyer, or you're a doctor, they go, oh, what kind of doctor? There's respect to that. There's a level of respect. You say you're a martial arts school owner, the question is, well, what is your full-time job? What do you do for a real job? And we need to get that fixed. And then that's just my opinion, right? And so that's why we do what we do, and really try to elevate the industry to get to that level of professionalism where you can say doctor, lawyer, martial art school owner, or instructor in the same sentence, and people take it seriously and actually respect it.
And by the number of viewers on here, we have a long uphill battle to get this fixed, Tass.
Yeah, right on.
Thank you, Tass.
I was just trying to read Mr. Blackman's last comment here. Yeah, difficult to get in touch with people, access. I mean, all of those things, right? People, I've just found, this was me personally, when I came on board as a client, one of the biggest lifelines was the ability to be able to have a conversation, talk, and be able to get unstuck. And by the way, there were scheduled calls that were 30 minutes, which were great. There were calls that I made, or texts that I made, that took 30 seconds, or a call that took 3 minutes, but it got me unstuck, and that meant, or that allowed me to keep my momentum, to keep moving forward. I think in any business or in life, when you lose momentum, it's really hard to restart and go. So keeping that momentum is important. And if you don't have someone that can coach you and keep that momentum, and it's like you feel like you're starting over every month. I remember seeing the newspaper clipping. It was a cartoon, like 3 frames, and it was about salespeople. And it was a guy pushing a boulder, and it was at the bottom of this hill. That was the first frame. The second frame of it was he was halfway up the hill, was halfway through the month. The third frame, he was all the way to the top of the mountain. He hit his goal. And then the fourth frame, the boulder was at the bottom of the mountain again, right? And so it's like, okay, now we got to start all over for this next month. And when you live that, right, you're like, man, we hit the goal. Now we got to start all over. There is that mentality, and sometimes that there can be burnout there, but you got to look down the road and find out, what am I going to do today? And this is what I said, the same thing I said to my son. You have a choice as to what you want to do. And I've told my kids this. I said, if you want to be an entrepreneur, a college degree is not going to hurt you, right? But if you're going to be an entrepreneur without a college degree, you better be an entrepreneur the rest of your life, because it's going to be very hard, because you're not going to have a backup plan or a fallback plan if you need to get a job somewhere. So having that degree is important. But at the end of the day, if you look at that and, well, I'm not going to do that now because I'm going to go focus on these other things that I want to do. Well, when things go bad later on, or if they go bad later on, wouldn't it have been nice to put in the hard work today so that you can reap the benefit of that tomorrow or in the future, right? And so those are some different ways of looking at things. So when we're going through this grind, a lot of times people feel the grind for a long time. What you've done to get you to where you are isn't going to get you where you want to go. And by the way, when you decide and you make the decision, that's it, I'm moving forward. You make that decision, you move forward. It's going to be hard work. You will be overworked and underpaid. But eventually, right, the mission and the goal is you're going to feel like you're underworked and overpaid. And that's really what the goal is. But there's no way around the work, team. There just really isn't, regardless of who your consultant is.
So look, it's just, listen, let's just talk about this. You know, if you're a traditional school, does it stifle growth? Yeah, it can. Because if you're a traditional school, I think we've seen some traditional schools are so, look, everything's got to evolve. I mean, we have to evolve. Yeah, I still think you can keep the level of tradition and culture, but when you look at things as a whole, as far as tradition and curriculum and the way we teach, how we teach, classes being an hour and a half, maybe tradition, you have to evolve. I mean, it's like, how many of you still have the original flip phone? You don't. We've evolved, right? I mean, you want to stay tradition and keep the big phone with the big antenna, right? I mean, it's like you have to evolve. Cable. How many of you have cable? You know, I'm one that still has direct TV, but everybody seems to be going to YouTube TV and Apple TV, and you know what I mean? It's evolving.
Or you remember Redbox?
Yes.
Redbox. That, I mean, like, that's over. That was the hottest thing, right? And before that was Blockbuster Video, and then Redbox came out, right? And it started with delivery, and then they had the actual physical boxes you went to, and then you take them and you bring them back.
Listen,
and now everything's streaming. It evolves.
You're catering to an audience, and as a martial artist, if you want to change your community, if you want to impact lives, you have to evolve. However, that doesn't mean that you have to get rid of all of your tradition on the mat. It does mean you have to evolve and learn how to present that tradition differently than you may have back in 1980. It's a different world we live in. So it can stifle financial success. It absolutely can, but it doesn't have to. And it's all dependent upon the person behind that. But it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse to not be financially successful in your business. Period. End of story. You know, we hear it all the time. You guys may not. And you wonder why, if you guys listen to this show every week, you'll hear me harp on it and get annoyed by the fact that there's still a stigma out there that you can't or shouldn't make money in the martial arts business. Or if you do, you're selling out in some way, shape, or form. We gotta change that level of thought as an industry, because it's just not accurate. It's just not accurate. But you have to open up your mind and stop justifying why you're broke. You have to stop making excuses on why you're not, or you're just making ends meet in your school.
And sometimes people can't get out of their own way, and they say, well, what are you talking about? The excuses, right? And I had a conversation with someone yesterday, and there were some excuses. And I said, it's not an excuse. They're like, well, yeah, it's the reality. And I'm like, no, it's not. Like, you're thinking too small. If you think bigger, we can overcome that excuse. I mean, there's no problem. It's usually, we're limited by the questions that we ask ourselves oftentimes, or the answers that we give ourselves from the questions that we ask. And then we live in that area for so long that we actually begin to believe it, and that there's no way out. And it's amazing what can happen. And Metz, you know, here's the thing. I mean, there's so many people that we can number one, help the school, help maximize their schools, right? But at the end of the day, you know, this is all about the whole tradition thing. There are some traditional things, right, that you still can do in your school that are going to be great for your school. But the traditional idea of, like, when I was a kid in the left side back guarding stance, and I turned my head to look at my instructor behind me when he was correcting somebody, and he hit me with a shinai on top of the head and the leg, well, that don't fly anymore. That's a lawsuit. So you won't do that anymore because, well, what's the consequence? Well, the consequence today is a lawsuit. But why does it have to be that severe? If there's something that you're doing in your school that is killing your retention, it's no different than a lawsuit sucking money out of your account. It's just not a lawsuit. It's you're naturally sending people on their way because they don't like a portion of what you're doing. And by the way, it doesn't have to be a traditional school. You could be a modern school and do things that people don't enjoy as well. So I want to be clear on that. But I think the other thing is when we can help people get to another level, the next level of that is showing them how to get their team to another level and how to get their staff, their instructors, so on and so forth. Because we've really cracked the code on that in the last few years, as far as creating that pathway for instructors and for program directors and assistant instructors and senior instructors, to show them, here's the vision, here's where you can go. And at the end of the day, the sky is the limit. But most of us we can't see that, because we never were really designed to. We did this because we love doing martial arts and we were the instructor. Now, how do we assemble this team? What do we do for employees? What do we do for compensation? Should I give them a raise? Shouldn't I give them a raise? Like all those things, the mechanics that go along with, having quote unquote employees. But you have to show them the vision if you want to continue to grow. And my mission would be, I want to grow my school, but I also want to take everybody on the way up with me. And then when you have that structure that way, it becomes a win-win for everyone.
And by the way, the other part of it is the culture of the martial arts, period. As you have to be willing, as you are the top dog and the highest ranking black belt, the school owner, the master in your art, it's hard for some people to then become a student again.
Right.
It's hard for some people. For some people, other people are like, not me. I need to learn. I want to grow. And I just wish everybody, if you can help, if you want to join the movement. I was going to say something, but I'm not. If you want to join the movement and help this industry, here's the problem, everyone. Everybody, I don't know, because I can't see who's on here, but everybody that comments, and the majority of the people, if not everybody on here watching this, are people that have come to our seminars or are part of Maya or whatever. We need your help to post, not to advertise for Maya, just to advertise that there's a better way of doing things out there, and to do their homework and check with the consulting companies out there. Because the people who are closed-minded, by the way, whether you're in Maya or any other group, they don't listen to anyone else, or they don't want to give, they just will turn away from it. But there's always something you can learn. I say it all the time. I appreciate all the credit from clients of how I've helped them. But as a whole, and this, Tass, the clients have helped us more than we've ever helped them. I mean, we have learned so much from working with the industry. Imagine if I just said, well, nope, I'm the consultant. I don't care. This is what you're doing. But if I hear you're doing something that I'm not doing, and it's really successful, I need you to teach me. How are you doing that?
You've always said, look, there's something that everybody does really well. So imagine not just 100 clients, but like 1,000 clients, and they all give you something that they're doing. I now have 1,000 things that we can take internally. Go, okay, this is how they're doing it. We take that, we internalize it, we systematize it, and then we can share it with everybody else. And now everybody else has all of those things as well. And that's how you grow. That's how things evolve.
We are in business, right? And money is important, period. I'm not saying that's the health, family, God, religion, most important. But money is on the list somewhere. It's important. I just saw on the news this morning that the average price of gas in California is $6.16 a gallon. You better have freaking money. I mean, you just better have money. And it's like
or an electric car.
You know what though, Task? We're talking to our audience here.
Right.
I wish we could get to the people who are closed-minded, because we can help them. We can help them. I mean, it's like, why struggle? And you talk about it all the time. You were in bankruptcy, foreclosure. You know what it's like to struggle. I know what it's like to struggle. I remember. I mean, I just know, and I didn't like it at all. I did not like it. And now if I have the opportunity to help people not ever have to struggle financially, whether you do the work or not is on you. But I know that I can help the industry, we, us, Maya, and other consulting groups out there. I just know. Why don't you just let your guard down and see? I mean, just see. I mean, as an industry, we still struggle as an industry For the people that are on here, or the Maya people, you live in a bubble. You live in a bubble where you think that because you surround yourself with the most successful people in the industry. And here's the facts. In Maya, the Maya Elite clients, I can't tell you exactly what the spend is on an average per school, Maya Elite school owner, but we are number one as far as spend on merchandise and retail with Century Martial Arts. Number one. So if you're in the Maya Elite program and you surround yourself and that's your world, you think the industry is just all roses, but it's not. As a whole, we still struggle as a whole. We need to figure out we need to figure out how we can get through to other people in the industry.
Yeah.
I mean,
a lot of times,
I mean, put it this way, we're doing it. I mean, we have 290 whatever. So I'm rounding to 300. I don't want to be one of those fake number people, but it's 290 something. Next weekend, we have 290 some people coming to Orlando for our Game Changers event. But it's not good enough. And that's been my motto my whole life. It's not good enough. We can do better. We can make a bigger impact. And you know, Tass, I'm always behind the scenes, constantly trying to figure out how we can be better to our existing clients, to the industry, to the people who don't even want to hear it, because we don't know what we don't know. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating. I want to help these people. It's like if you're a martial arts school owner and you did a seminar for all parents with children who get bullied, and you had 50 kids show up, they all get bullied, they don't have confidence, and 2 of them enroll. Well, we could do the bullshit saying of, if I could just impact one person, I've done my job. No, we suck at our job. We suck at our job if all we do is impact one person. We got to impact more, and we got to figure it out. But I'm realizing it now, and I may just talk about it at the Elite event. We got to come together and start sharing more and spreading the word and trying to help this industry and lift it up. I mean, period. I mean, it's just not good enough. Go ahead.
Not for the sake of Maya, by the way, the sake for everybody. I mean, you know how horrible it is when you have a school that's not professional or that closes down the road from you. Dude, your mom was in the health club industry. I mean, how many health clubs I remember selling at the health club industry in the health club business, and I had a hard time enrolling people for $35 a month because they thought we were going to close the doors and fold and leave, because that's what they've seen dozens of other health clubs do. So it makes business harder for those health clubs that are in business to actually run a business. Same thing in the martial arts world. If we're not professional, if we're not going to be around, if their schools are open and closing all the time, parents are going to have a hard time, or students or adults or whoever, trusting that we're going to be around and coming in and sign up for a school, right? And that's why we want to make it better. And I was going to say earlier, sometimes what happens, and I think why it's hard to get through, and this is not meant to be mean, but there's people that have a broke mentality, right? They're broke, and then they have a broke mentality. And the broke mentality is, well, I'm not going to listen to them. All they want is money. Okay. Or maybe we just want to talk to you and give you some ideas. And if those things work and you see value, you may go, oh, well, there's actually real value there. And let me look at this further. And what can I do? It's always interesting to me. And I've come to learn this, it's taken 40 years to get there. But I've come to learn that most times when people have a challenge with, for example, in our business, in our martial arts school, it's an upset parent, it's a this, it's a that. There are times, and every time we look in the mirror to make sure, is what they're saying valid or not valid? And there may be a shade of truth to that, but every single time, there's always an underlying issue that they have that they're projecting onto us. And that's just, forget the martial arts world. When you see people and you hear people that are negative, or they're constantly griping, or they're complaining, it's usually because things in their life aren't where they want them to be. And so they project that onto everybody else. And those are the people that we're trying to help, because we can help change that where you're not complaining, where you're actually singing praises because things have gotten so much better for you. So yeah, man, we're here to help, and it is frustrating sometimes.
And we're not the only ones here to help. But that goes back to my first question. How do you know? How do you know that? Unless you do your due diligence, you don't know. That's my point. You don't know. So you need to research, but there's companies, different groups out there, different individuals that can help you grow your school. Maya happens to be one, but do something. We need to professionalize this industry more. I mean, we just do. I mean, what else can I say? It's just and again, you're seeing frustrations that I can't articulate because we're the ones getting calls all the time, or questions or comments, or we see the posts of these closed-minded individuals. And it's frustrating because they just don't know what they don't know. I mean, it's just crazy, right?
You had Mr. Joshua Fry up there, and hey, sir, I hope you're doing well. And I know you went through some devastation in the Fort Myers area. And look, if there's a guy that could be complaining about anything and everything, it's him. And I don't even when looking and seeing what he's doing and what he's posting, things he's saying, that's just not his mentality. And so he's in control of that mindset, which is why he's successful, right? But he could be complaining about everything. I mean, he just lost everything and devastation in Fort Myers. And so that's the kind of mindset that you need to have. Like, even when things are going horrible, what can we do to get through it and get to the next level? Because that's what's going to get you there. You've got to shed that old mindset. You've got to get a new mindset. And sometimes that really is what needs to happen. Is you need a shift in mindset before you have that shift in your business and your business revenue, right? You have to change that mindset and be able to move forward. And that's the thing. Sometimes people just aren't ready to make that shift in their mindset. And so either A, you're not excited enough about changing that mindset, or B, you haven't quite hit rock bottom yet, because it's done for either pain or pleasure. And one of those two things is going to trigger it. And if you don't see enough pleasure in that, then you haven't hit rock bottom where you actually say, okay, I'm ready. And that's where I was when I came to the Super Show. I was, and I don't suggest it by any means. It's the worst place to live. And I was at rock bottom, and it was all about pain. And I just didn't want to suffer anymore. And I finally said, like, I had been through 4 other consulting companies. I'm like, what's going to be different about this one? And then we sat, we talked, and we chatted and all the things. And I had to make a decision. Am I going to do this again? And really the question was, is Shane going to do the work to put the time in and follow the directions and follow what's being said? And I had to make a decision, and I had to get out of that mindset. And the way that I did it, and maybe this helps some of you, but I had made every mistake in the book. Metzger said it earlier: foreclosure, bankruptcy, IRS debt that was over 6 figures, all the things. It is not a fun place to live with those black clouds following you everywhere all the time. But I was younger, and all I could say was, this is what I would tell myself. Someday this is going to make a great story. And that was my light at the end of the tunnel, and what I needed to say to myself to pull me through, as opposed to just sitting back and be like, it's never going to change. I'm never going to be able to pay off that debt. It's only going to get bigger. I'm going to have to go rent because I'm not going to have credit. I'm probably have to move in with my parents. You can say all of those things, or you can just own it, embrace it, take a deep breath, and say, okay, what are the solutions? Let's stop with the problems. Let's find the solution. And like you said, whether that's us or somebody else, but that's the hardest part. Sometimes I just want to grab and shake people.
Right.
Like, we can help.
And I'll leave everybody with this. I'll leave everyone with this. Sometimes we're so focused on, well, what is someone trying to sell us? What are they trying? Let me just call out the elephant in the room. I'm trying to sell all of you on getting consulting somewhere. Would love it to be with Maya, but somewhere to help you. And here's the next thing I will say. I will always try to sell you something that I know will help you. So now you never have to ever talk to me and say, well, are you just trying to sell me? Yes, I am. If I'm trying to sell you, it's because I know it's going to help you. Period. End of story. That's it. The question is, again, how do you know the groups or individuals that are trying to sell you something will really help you. And you don't know unless you do your homework and due diligence. I like to think I have some credibility after being 20 years in the industry with the hundreds of people that if I asked to come forward and just say, hey, have I helped you grow your school or something, I would like to think that I would have enough credibility where people would see that. But if I'm trying to sell you something, current client, new client, past client, just know I will try to sell you every day, all day, if it's got something that will help you. But I also will help for free if you don't have the means or not in a position to buy or pay for a service or consulting. But I have a job to do, right, with mine. But I won't sell you anything that won't help you. So with that, Tass, I really have to go to the bathroom. That's why I'm trying to end this quickly.
All right, let's wrap it up. So go make it happen, everybody.
That jar, can you?
That's how committed you are. He'll stay on and answer questions.
Yeah, I'll stay here all day.
And go to the bathroom right on screen.
Well, it's all this coffee, man.
Yeah.
Woo! Anyway, I'll see you in a few days.
Yeah, you will. So I'm flying to Tampa. So you just, that was the best flight I could get. So make sure you got there to pick me up.
Yeah, Brian will be there to pick you up.
Perfect.
Okay. Yep.
That's what Ernie asked me yesterday. He goes, "What are you flying into Miami now? Are you going to make it even more difficult?" I said, "No, it's all good. It's all
awesome.
good." So yeah, it'll be great. It'll be great to connect with everybody.
What day do you get in?
Wednesday at like noon.
Okay.
In Orlando, not San.
All right.
All right, everybody. See you guys. Looking forward to seeing everybody next week. Take care, everybody.